Hey everyone, and welcome to the club. Today I got a very special lesson for you. I'll be doing a sketch technique drawing of Naruto. When I'm doing a sketch drawing of a character, I like to start by establishing the large building blocks, just these giant shapes that just sort of help build the composition of my drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the skull area of the head first. So I'm using a sort of a side grip for my pencil. I'm using a 4B pencil. I'm using a side grip and then just putting my index finger on the lead here. And just almost like doing a finger drawing. So I'm going to start by doing a circle, and I just want to do a very light touch of my pencil lead. So starting at the top, just kind of working my way around, and just sort of building this sort of sphere. So this is the skull area of my character. From here I'm going to draw a straight line down the middle to sort of separate the left and right side. So again, it doesn't have to be a perfect line, just to separate the left and right side. From here I'm just going to start building out the jaw. So on the side here on the left, I'm just going to angle in on both sides. And then the chin is quite shallow, so I'm just going to draw two lines curving and angling in towards the center. And I don't want to connect the lines, I'm just using these as guidelines for the general shape of my head. Now in the middle here, I'm going to draw a curve that goes around just to establish the eye lines. And then right beside here, I'm going to draw in a little curve for the ears. Now I'm going to go back in later and start detailing this out. And then with that big hair, I'm just going to start on the left side and just draw a curve that goes around, just to sort of give me a guide as to how big I want to draw my hair. So going around like this. Around here I'm going to draw on the collar, just drawing a curve that goes across like this. The neck is going to be quite thin, so doing two lines on the side. And then the collar in the back is going to go behind the jaw, so going out, then coming straight down on the sides, and then down the center. And I can always adjust these lines a little bit later once I start getting on all the details. Up here, I'm going to draw on the shoulder line. In the middle, I'll draw the zipper line like that. Now I know with the lighting and the camera, it's very hard to see these faint lines. So I'm going to go back over this again and start to define these lines. So up in here, right at the top of the ears, I'm going to draw on a curve for the bottom of the headband. And again, it doesn't have to be too dark, just a faint line. And at the top here, I'm going to draw a curve in the opposite direction for the top of the headband. And I'm going to just sketch out the head protector. Just leaving a little gap on top and bottom. Along here, the hair sort of overlaps the sides. Comes down. Just another overlap on the sides here. And again, just blocking this in. I don't need to get into too much detail here, because I can always go back in and just do an overdraw. Just kind of defining the shapes of the hair. And go back out here. Larger spike. At the top, there's a nice big spike at the top here. Kind of goes out. And you can see that I'm working from left to right. I'm just trying to define the shapes as I go. Spike here. Maybe this one will angle down a little bit further. Like that. Okay, so I sort of blocked in the hair, all the spikes. I'm just going over this multiple times to try to just shape it all together. Now below the headband, I'm just going to block in two sort of ovals for the eyes. I just want to make sure that the spacing in between the eyes is where I want it to be. Then down here, I'm going to probably draw in the nose somewhere around here. So just draw like a V shape. The mouth, I'm going to have it open. Maybe actually grit his teeth a little bit. Just blocking these curves like that. And then over here, he's got the whiskers. So I'm just going to draw three sort of angled lines coming in from the jawline, going like that. And then go back in. Define the jawline a little bit more, maybe even round it out a little bit. It doesn't have to be that sharp. Down here at the bottom lip. And here I'm just going to start blocking in the brow. So coming in towards the center, curling up the frown line, and the upper eyelid. Now I really like starting my drawing with the side pencil grip because it's almost like finger painting. I just kind of like control my drawing by almost like using my finger only, not the pencil. And then just block in the pupils and the iris. Circles on the side here. Again, I can always adjust it later on. Drawing in the bottom of the eyelid, like that. Now the pupils look a little bit big, but I'm going to go back over this again and just readjust the sizing. Now I'm going to change my grip at this point. I'm going to just use a regular side grip without putting my finger on the tip of the pencil, because I want to be able to see that. Because I'm going to start detailing in some of this hair. And I want to be able to see the lead sort of touching the surface of my paper. So I'm going to go back over the hair, just defining the shapes and the spikes. Out, going from left to right. And I always find it useful to just sort of step back and just look at your composition, make sure things are balanced out as you're drawing. So right here, I don't want to actually add too many spikes on this side, so I'm just going to remove one of them, just overdraw. Come back up to the top, define the outline shape of the spikes on top, like that. Then going back over the top of the headband on the side here, I'm just going to pull the sides of the headband out, and then draw that curve in. Just finding that curve. Going back in over the head protector, like that, and then the brow. Defining the brow, the top and the bottom, pulling that in, the eye, just pulling down the side of the eye here, and then the pupil and iris. I'm just going to tuck the pupil and iris underneath the eyelid a little, so I'm just going to pull that up, a little bit like that, the bottom of the eyelid just underneath, inside of the eye down, and then defining the nose. Here, I'm just going to add in some little frown lines. Pulling this in like that. And then the mouth, going across. Over here, I'm just going to have the teeth gridded, so I'm just going to shade in the corners a little bit. Give them a little fang on that side, left and right. And then going back over here, I'm going to add a little bit of the hair on the side here. So the sideburns come out towards the side of the head. And round up the side of the head and the jaw. And then again, I'm going to go back in and just sort of detail out the ear a little bit more, just give it a little bit more definition. So going up, around, and then drawing in a little bit of the inner ear detail on the other side. Let's go back down towards the neck, establish the thickness of the neck. I'm going to draw a little bit of the throat detail here. And then right in the middle, I got the zipper, so I'm going to draw two lines coming down, curve at the top of the collar. Now this is going to curve, and it's got these little ridges on the collar, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that detail, maybe a little bit along the front edge and then the back of the collar. You see, at this point I still haven't brought out an eraser. I'm just kind of drawing over on top of what I actually have with a slightly darker line. I'm going to go back over here and just add a little bit of hair in the back here. He's got some hair that sticks out behind the ear, behind the jaw. Now at this stage I have the building blocks to help me get started. Now I'm going to go back in with using a regular grip and start detailing out the eyes. So I'm going to start on the right side here. I want to draw on that brow line first. So starting on the inside, again using a very light touch. I don't want to go too dark because I'm going to go back over this again with another pass. Just drawing in a bit of the eyebrow and on the inside. I'm going to add a little frown line in the center here. So just adding a couple of little curves and thickening up the top eyebrow like that. Now I'm going to go over the eyelid. On the right side we'll just curve out. I'm just going to thicken this eyelid up a little bit. Pull down the sides. Go back over towards the right and do the same thing. Go back over to the left side. And now I'm going to draw in the iris. So again, this is where you can sort of adjust where do you want to put the iris. I'm going to put that up toward the top of the eyelid. So I'm just tucking this in. It's almost like a little half circle. Not going too heavy on this, and just drawing the bottom eyelid going across. Just want to close off the inside of the eyelid a little. At the bottom of the right eye as well. And then underneath the eyes, I'm just going to draw a little bit of a wrinkle. His eyes are sort of half closed here. And then the frown lines going in towards the center of the face. Bottom of the nose, I'm just going to round out the tip of the nose, just pull up towards the sides. Now at this stage, I can already see that this eye here is dead center in the eye. This one's pulled in a little bit, so I'm going to go back in, just lightly erase and knock back that iris. Just pull it inward just a little, just to help balance this out a little bit. So just pulling it over towards the right, kind of like that. That looks a little bit better. Close the upper eyelid by darkening it up. Now I'm going to go in and add a little highlight along the top. So just sketching in a very light circle along the top, left, and in the center I'm just going to draw in the pupils. So a little dark circle on both sides. Just fill that in black. I'm going to go back to the top edge of the headband here. Just going across with a curve. Now here, the headband's going to add a little bit of a casted shadow on top of the face. So I'm going to go with the side of my pencil and and just shade in the bottom edge, just so it looks like a little bit of shadow going on top of the face here. I'm going to go underneath the eyebrow and just shade that in as well. Give it a little bit of shade there, maybe a little bit in between the eyes, and then underneath the eyes, I'll add a little bit as well. And go below the nose and add a little bit of shading as well, because the light's coming down from the left side, so it's going to cast a shadow on the bottom right. Let's go back to the mouth, draw the top curve for the mouth, and then going down on the sides, a little angle, angling the bottom corners, coming back in, and then curving the bottom of the mouth. Now here I'm just going to add that little corner, so just shading in the corners. I'm going to add a little fang on top, on the left, point, do the same thing on the right, and just pull a very short line going across. You don't have to draw all the teeth. Add a little separation here and there, just a couple little lines going up, maybe one coming down. That little bottom lip here, I'm just going to shade it downwards. Now I'm going to go back to the side of the head and just draw in the side of the jaw. So coming down on the sides, curve. I'm trying to like balance this out, so I'm just going back and forth, left to right, and as I get towards the jaw, I'm just going to round this out and pull this in towards the chin. Rounding this out and just blending this up towards the jawline. And again, over here you can actually shade in the edge of the jaw, coming down towards the chin. You want to kind of give it that sort of rounded look. It look like the chin and the jaw sort of wrap around this way. So with a very light touch, I'm going to go across the edge, maybe darken up just the side a little and feather it out as I get towards the inside edge of the face. Right here I'm going to add in some of the whiskers, so I'm just going to define the whiskers a little, starting with the top, going across and in, go to the right side and do the same thing. So it starts off a little bit thicker on the side of the head, and just tapers and blends out as you come in towards the center of the face. One right this side, mouth. Now here I'm going to go back over the hair, again using just a regular grip. Pull the hairline going upwards. Doing some overlapping. Side. And if you want to reduce the amount of smudging as you're drawing, because my hand is actually rubbing up against the paper, you can also put a piece of paper, scrap paper on top, put your hand on top of that so it doesn't smudge as much. Back to the side. I'll just try to be careful not to do too much smudging underneath my hand here. Continuing this as I go. And once you're happy with the lines that you have, and you see a couple straight lines that you just don't need, you can always go back in with an eraser and just knock those lines back. Spike over here. I'm just going to go back in with my eraser and just knock back the center curve that we did for the skull. A couple lines up here, just to clean it up, because I won't be needing those lines anymore. Just like that. Now going back to the top of the headband, I'm just going to draw that curve. Top of the headband just tucked in underneath the hair, and then drawing the top edge of the head protector going across. Sides. You can see I'm not paying too much attention to connecting the lines. I'm still in a sketch sort of technique. I'm still going over. I'm going to go back in again and just add another level of detail. Over here we're going to add the 3 rivets, 3 circles on either side. Now I'm going to draw in the little symbol here. So I'm just going to use the side grip, draw the angle line first, and then that swirl. Just blocking this in to make sure that I have the right size. Then on the side we have this little angle here. I can go back in again and just start detailing this out. Just cleaning it up a little bit. Now I'm just going to shade in the headband just a little to make it a little bit darker value than the rest of the face. Simply going in that in. And then going in over the ears, starting with the top of the ear, rounding it out. And then just drawing a little bit of an earlobe at the bottom. Go over inside the ear and just draw a little bit of shadow in the inner ear. There. Now we're going to work our way down towards the neck. Just drawing the sides of the neck first, and this is where you can adjust, make sure that it's centered. Now because the head is casting shadow over the neck, I'm going to go in, again with the side grip, and just lightly shade in the neck. I want to try to go a little bit darker at the top, and then just blend it out as I come down, because the light's going to sort of fall off. Now I'm going to draw in the front edge of the collar, so starting with the zipper line first. Going side by side. Just draw a little toggle here, so just a little rectangle. Just blocking in just some of the detail of the zipper. Now here it goes across, so I'm just doing a light pencil across this way, because there's these little ridges and ribs that go across this way. So I'm going to start in the center here, just kind of pull a little curve, and just overlap them. Try to keep an even gap and space throughout. It doesn't have to be perfect, just want to kind of block this in at this stage. And as I get to the side, I'm going to pull these out, going across like that. Do the same thing on the right side. It's almost like rounding out the top and pulling a straight line coming down. And then going across, overlapping. Side, we're going to come down. Side, we just go straight in. Now at the bottom, we're going to do the same thing that we did on the top, just reversed. Just going across and up, trying to line up the lines here. So from top to bottom, you don't have to close off the gap here. It looks cool if you don't complete the line on the side. Go back in later on, just clean up these lines. I'm just going to finish this off with the shoulder line. And when sketching, I usually just blend things out towards the side of my page. I don't have to go and add all the details on the side here. On the side here, I'm just going to add in the hair. Just a couple curves like that. Something on the right. I'm going to go back in, just knock back some of the little ribs that I have in between the hair on the inside. Go in and just shade in the inside edge of the collar using the side grip. Just pull that in behind the neck. Do the same thing on the right side here. Now I don't want to shade in the top edge because this is where the light actually catches the top edge of the collar. And then going back over and just adding a little bit of a shade on these ribs. So if the light's coming this way, the left side edge is going to be highlighted, whereas the opposite side is going to be in shadow. Pulling a little shadow line from the top, working our way down. Do the same thing on the right. Just add a little bit more shading in here. Same thing on the right side. Over here, I can just add a little shadow from the collar onto the body. And then with the iris, I'm just going to do a little bit of shading. So make it a little bit darker at the top and just kind of blend it down. So right here, around the highlight, I'm just going to work my way down and just blend it out so it gets a little bit lighter as it comes down. This is a very subtle detail, but it actually looks nice when you're finished this drawing. Underneath the eyelids, I'm just going to shade in the whites of the eyes a little bit. Now on my third pass, I'm going to go in and start detailing this out and just connecting the dots a little bit. So starting at the bottom of the eye, the eyebrow, I'm just going to go all the way up and just using a little bit of a heavier sort of push on the pencil. Darkening that up. On the top, I'm going to go a little bit lighter and then darken up the inside frown line. And as I'm going, I'm actually just shading this in just a little bit, just adding a little bit of darkness along the bottom side. Same thing on the right and left. Just shading it down so the eyebrows sort of cast a little bit of a shadow. Of the eye, my way across the bottom of the eyelid. defining the iris. So just working my way around the sides. And I'm not really paying much attention to the bottom edge. I just kind of want to blend it out. Going to the side of the eye. Doing the same thing. I'm just going to pull this line on the top of the eyelid just a little bit further, so a little bit of an overlap. And then right here, I'm just going to define the wrinkles underneath the eye. Darkening up center, making it a little bit thicker, and just blending it out. Going back over the mouth. And you can go as far as you like with these drawings. Continue to add a third layer, fourth layer, fifth layer. You can add color if you like, going in with some pencil crayons or marker. And then in towards the chin, and then just darkening up the bottom edge of the chin, going really heavy with the pencil. Just multiple passes over, so you can really pull up the face, draw out the features of the face. Going over the ears. And just shading in, adding a little extra layer of shading. Bottom edge of the headband. I'm not paying too much attention to the little details. I'm still working on the very high level. The big features of the face and the character is where I want to pay my attention to. Like I'm just working on the bottom edge of this headband, shading it in along the bottom, going back in, defining the eyebrows because I really want to pull those out, shading underneath the eyebrow. Going back over the head protector, bottom edge here. Rounding out the corners. Now this head protector, again, is going to leave a little bit of a drop shadow on top of the headband. So I'm going to darken in the bottom edge and maybe a little bit on the side here. Even stuff on the side here like that. Go back over the top. And then defining the symbol. Using very short, choppy motions of my pencil. Going over the rivets. Now with the rivets, because I want the rivets to look like they're sticking out, I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow on the bottom edge. Just around the bottom corner of the rivets. Really darkening up the bottom edge of that rivet there. And then going back over again for the third time over the hair. Go in and add as much detail and clean it up as much as you want. I'm just going to kind of block this in so you can actually see the lines. Now the hair is going to also cast another shadow on top of the headband. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with the side grip and just darken the shading, working with the angles of the hair. So right here I'm just going to go across, even over the head protector, going down an angle. Over here I'll darken up this side. Again, going in towards the neck and defining in the hair on the side. Just really pulling out the detail of the hair on the side. I'm going to add a little bit of throat detail, so I'm just going to draw a little curve coming in to shade that in. Same thing from the top, working down on the right. And then also going in and defining the zipper. So you can add as much detail as you like on the zipper. Going back over again and just defining the top edge of the collar. Just using a regular grip, and just drawing the top edge first. These little rounded edges. And as I get to the side, I'm just going to curve out. Going back behind the hair. Just working the curve going out the little ridges. Do the same thing on the left side. sketch drawings, I don't worry too much about getting the neat, clean lines. This is a sketch drawing, so I don't care to have like all these multiple lines overlapping each other. It actually looks a lot better when you have multiple passes in one area. So then going back to the bottom, just shading from the bottom, working my way up along the inside edge. Now in the inside of the collar, again, I'm just going to go back in and just shade it a little bit darker than the neck so that the neck pops out. It also helps draw the hair on the side here a little bit out as well. Do the same thing on the left. Go back in, just define the whiskers a little bit more. I'm just going to go around the shaded parts. Tapering to a point. Same thing on the right. Just almost outlining the shading that I did earlier. We go back up here and draw on the side of the hair. Just curving down. Sides. Just shading it out along the bottom. Go back in towards the hair. Ultimately, at the end, I want to have an even balance of values. So that means the darks and the lights are balanced from the top towards the bottom. So I can see there's a lot of heavy shading down here, not so much in the hair. So I'm just going to go back up and just darken up the edge of my hair. If you like, you can go in and just add a little bit of shading along the bottom edge of the hair, so it looks like there's a little bit of overlap. One thing you want to continue to do as you're sketching is just step back and make sure that your composition is balanced before you start adding in all that detail. And just do a final pass over any areas that you feel could use a little bit more darkening. The earlobes, I'm just going to go in over. Side of the head, just want to continue pulling out the jaw areas just to define the head, just draw it forward. Same thing with the eyes, just going back in. Add a little bit more shading along the top of the iris. Darken up the pupil so his eyes really pop. And that is pretty much it. There's our sketch tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and if you did, make sure you subscribe and make sure you take the time to browse through our playlist. We have a ton of characters and lessons. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.